This is Ford Grand C-Max, a compact 7-seater minivan. I just got back from a 1,000-kilometer road trip in it and I have mixed feelings. Let's start with my subjective take on the design. I would like to apologize for criticizing the way Volkswagen Touran looks. It may look like Rowan Atkinson, but the Grand C-Max is like Steve Buscemi. It may not look too bad in the pictures, but up close and personal, it's hideous, especially from the back. On the plus side, this ugly backside packs 2 additional seats and slightly bigger cargo space. However, in some markets you may still have to pay around €700 for the third row of seats. So first you pay more than £2,000 extra to have C-Max upgraded to ugly C-Max, and then you have to pay another €700 on top of that for having less space in the boot, around 450 litres with the third row folded. And of course, there's nowhere to put the boot cover, and in 7-seat configuration there's also not much place left even for your kids' school bags, which I guess you are going to be carrying around. Kids and bags. That's why you're buying this car. Sliding doors are probably the biggest advantage of this car because you can easily put all these lovely pests inside, even in a tight parking space. Now be careful because the opening is rather low. Isofix mounts are only on the side seats, but there's a method in this madness because you can lift this, fold that. This, by the way, resembles Mazda 5's Karakuri seating system. Anyway, like this, you've got 6 seats, but at least you've got decent access to the back. Now the seats slide between good legroom and poor legroom. In 7-seat configuration, access to the third row is terrible. Ford should have added a couple of centimeters, make the doors bigger and enlarge the boot. If you're buying a 7-seater, it's probably to carry people and stuff rather than to drive air around. It's tight in the back, good thing there are cup holders and storage. However, there is a good chance your kid will knock his teeth out trying to get out, so before you buy a Grand C-Max, ask your dentist for a discount. C-Max is based on the Focus, and the Focus has a decently laid out cockpit. It's just enough. Unfortunately, the C-Max has a slightly redesigned cockpit, and as a result there are some buttons in the place where a cubbyhole used to be. So there's no place to put away your sunglasses or your phone. Yes, you can try to store your sunglasses up there, but I like storage under the armrest, which is deep enough to accommodate a large bottle of water or a thermos in this case. It would also fit in the door bins, however, it would also rattle because the lower I poke, the rougher the plastics are. Perhaps Sync 2 would make an impression back in 2011 when the third generation Focus was introduced, but in 2016 it's slow and cumbersome. By the way, did any of you manage to sort contacts by family name? Let's start with what's good about this car. Ford Grand C-Max is relatively comfortable. With a 2-liter 170 horsepower diesel, there's enough grunt to overtake, and the 6-speed double-clutch automatic is fast enough. On my 1,000-kilometer road trip, I averaged 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers. It is possible to do less, but if you want to do that, stay away from motorways and dual carriageways. And forget about manufacturers' claimed 4.6 liters in extra urban and 5.6 liters in urban cycle. If your C-Max will mainly do city duty, you can have it with a frugal 100 horsepower EcoBoost. Otherwise, there's an array of diesels and petrols with power ranging from 95 to 182 horsepower. Visibility is good, the noise level doesn't change much above 100 km per hour, steering is precise, although suspension is on the hard side for a minivan. As part of the facelift, Ford gave the C-Max all the current safety systems, starting with simple things like blind spot monitoring or lane assist, through a bit more complicated stuff like adaptive cruise control, all the way to advanced systems like active city stop, which is an emergency brake assist ready to stop the car from speeds of up to 50 kilometers. I shall demonstrate how it works with the help of beautiful Chantel, who wanders around the forest selling forest fruit. The driver is going at a steady speed, he does not touch the brake, but the car stops without touching Chantel, who gets to live another day and sell her fruit to the driver. And now for the negatives. I mentioned SatNav is slow and cumbersome. Let me show you what I mean. The display is in a niche of sorts, which is probably supposed to cover it from the sun, but the sun can reflect on light upholstery or passengers' clothes, so you can't see much. And virtual buttons are too small, which becomes apparent when the roads get rougher. I can't pinpoint what really ticks me off about this car, especially that the positives balance out or even outweigh the negatives. But subjectively, the Ford Grand C-Max is just boring. I realize that buying a minivan, one shouldn't expect a Mustang in return, but Citroën C4 Picasso, with all its quirks, it's just such a pleasant car to live with every day. Let me try and quantify my aversion. This test example costs around 37,000 euro. For this kind of money, I can easily have an ugly but hybrid Prius Plus with much better seats in the third row. A Volkswagen Touran may be a bit more expensive, but it will be far more practical. And then there is the Citroën Grand C4 Picasso, which is crazy expensive at 42 grand, but they will give you a massive discount, because otherwise nobody's going to buy it. I like minivans, and I appreciate how practical they are. Just not the Grand C-Max. I'd rather have the regular C-Max, and if I wanted a 7-seater Ford, then S-Max is the one I'd go for. And what's your favorite minivan? Do you use all the 7 seats? Or perhaps you got a minivan, skipped on the 7-seater option and now you regret it? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe, rate and share. New episodes every Friday. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.